Hey, what's going on? And welcome to the After Show with Season 2, Episode 1 for God Friended Me. We can't wait to dive on in, so stay tuned and let's talk about this first episode.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, let the buzz begin. What's going on, y'all? Oh my God Friended Me fans, we are so happy to see you. We've been getting all your DMs and tweets and everything. We're so happy to have you guys here.
We're back.
Yes, we are back. So why don't we just dive right on in? So let's get into these host introductions. If you guys didn't remember us from last season, Season 1, you can remember us now. So to my left, I have someone, you will get a God word from this friend of God. I've got Franceli Chapman with me to my left.
Your favorite Afro-Latina. You know, me and Jesus, we besties.
Okay, we know that. And not to get your professional hostess with the mostest and God Friended Me super fan, Rochelle.
Okay, I was like, who's she talking about? But it was me.
And God Friended Me A1 since day one. We got to give it up for Mina Wahab.
Yes, I'm here till the very end.
That's right. The beginning and the end, right?
Yes.
And I'm your host, Jaimi Alexander, always open to have an open talk about God and what he has going on. So this is God Friended Me. Season 2, Episode 1. We are diving right into all of this good stuff. Welcome back, guys. So let's talk about this episode.
Let's do it.
Before we get into everything and we talk about how the episode went and everything, I wanted to let you guys know we want you to stay around till the end because we have a brand new special segment called Good God. And we have some good news and gossip for you guys. So make sure to stick around to the end. But let's dive into this episode. What did you guys think about Episode 1 of Season 2 as a whole?
Wow.
Honestly,
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's just so nice to see all these characters that we love so much again and see like where they left off, where they are now. Like everyone's in a different place. Kara's doing her thing in Paris. Myles is still in New York City. And just like seeing the evolution of these characters is so refreshing. I'll admit that it wasn't the strongest episode for me personally. I felt like there were certain things in there that were like a little predictable, a little cheesy. Didn't pull up my heartstrings the way like other episodes have. But I will say that Joe Morton like really tugged at my heartstrings in this episode.
Yes.
And I don't know if he tugged at anyone else's, but there's a scene in particular that we'll get into later on that just like hit right home for me when he's talking about like moving. Like it was everything to me, like just that scene alone.
He's great.
Right.
Yes, thank you, Mina. Franceli, what did you think about this episode overall?
Listen, let me tell y'all, the gang is back and I'm all about
gang.
it. Although the gang's a little like separated and then we got a new member trying to infiltrate the gang, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things going on, but I just appreciate to be back. I'm so thankful that a show like this got greenlit for a Season 2. Come on, praise the
Yes.
Lord. It's not every day that we get to see faith-based content on mainstream primetime television. So thank you, CBS. Thank you to the God Friended Me writers. I'm excited to be back.
And cast and crew. Rochelle, what did you think about the episode 1
Just
for this new
piggybacking
season?
over my friends is basically saying like the gang is back and we're back, and I'm super excited about that. Getting that email that we all will be back here. This was actually like I was saying before we were on air. It's free therapy. I love this show. I don't know why they call it the God account. It is just all God. Like I just love it and I'm here for it and I'm excited. So yes, it's a cool episode. I'm excited that they did have different milestones and they are accepting different roles. So it's going to be interesting. Either way, if they did the old style or this new season style, I am here for it. So shout out to y'all at God Friended Me.
And also, like, on a side note, I just want to say, like, thank you so much to the three of you, because, like, every time the show is, like, paralleling with my life, with your lives, there's always something in this for everyone, even if you're not religious at all.
Yeah.
So, like, when I have my moments, you guys are always there, and I love you guys.
Amen.
So,
We love you.
Yes,
Thank
we love you, girl.
Yes.
It's all the love. So we have a few segments here for you today. So today we're going to talk about the top 3 things we've loved from God Friended Me so far. Then we're going to talk about kind of the introduction of Joy, the conflict and resolution with her. So why don't we jump into the top 3 picks of the past scenes and moments that we've loved from God Friended Me. So in Season 1, can we talk about moment 1? And you guys gotta help me out here. I'm not gonna front. I don't remember the child's name, but please do remember the first time I ever cried on this episode when it comes to the top 3 picks of the moments that pulled on our heartstrings for God Friended Me was when the autistic child
he really
played
connected.
the piano the first time, and he connected with Myles after he ran away from his mother. They didn't know what's going on, and then they found him in the piano store playing the piano with Myles.
That was amazing.
That
I
was,
cried.
that was so beautiful because it shows that there's so many different ways to communicate.
Oh.
Just like,
Thank you.
it's not just about like, you know, like music is a language in itself, and it was just so beautiful to see like there's not one way to communicate with the child, and there's not like a one-size-fits-all model for parenting.
There you
So
go.
I think that helped a lot of parents and people who know, you know, kids or adults with autism. It was like so important to have
Yes.
that on the show.
Yeah, and communication through music. The fact that he was able to communicate, and it was a song that his mother had always sang to him. So while she was thinking she couldn't get through, she was getting through the whole time.
She
and that's why I
was.
thought that was powerful.
Yes, and it's all about what music. It's all about the feelings. It's that nostalgic feeling, you know. Like I would literally drive home and listen to B2K and Bow Wow Mario because I just remember those days
Yeah.
when I was just at Rhode Island Wells, not tripping about life, and I want to feel like that when I'm on a 405.
There you go.
That's all it
Teenage
is,
to
just to feel
adulting.
it.
Right.
I love that. So top 3, number 2 pick for moments that pulled on our heartstrings was that Coney Island moment.
Yes.
Where Arthur Finer and Myles had a moment outside of the roller coaster where, you know, Myles was able to reminisce on being 10 years old and the things that he felt when his mother passed.
Well, I mean, addressing trauma is so pivotal to your growth and being able to move forward. It's those things that are deeply rooted from our childhood that block us to the next blessing. And he was at a pivotal point in the season, in the God Friended Me account journey, and he needed to really face his fears and face his trauma about his mom in order to go to the next level with the God account. So that was an amazing
Talk
moment.
about breaking giants.
Yeah.
Slay that Goliath. Go ahead.
Slay it.
Go ahead.
Slay it. And finally, number 3, the top 3 moments. This is the third one that pulled on our heartstrings when it came to God Friended Me season 1, was when Myles and Kara actually and finally got together.
Thank you, Lord. I was doing a praise dance. Do you hear me? I was.
I know. So we have a little conflict. I know you were
I'm
team
Team Myles and Carol.
Team Myles and Kara. Rochelle, I know you and I felt a little bit different for a moment.
Yeah.
But Mina, you were on board with Myles and Kara.
Not always. I
Okay,
was
tell me
in and
about
out
it.
of it. There were times that I was like all for her, and then there were other times I was just so tired of the lack of directness that I
Thank
couldn't get
you.
behind it. But now I'm for it. Like now I'm enjoying it.
That's how I was
What do you
trying to
think,
remember
Rochelle?
why. I was like thinking like, why didn't I like Kara and Myles together? It's
Because we love the
Myles was
DJ.
and that too.
Yeah.
And my thing is just like Myles is grown. Not saying Cara wasn't, but Myles was, to me, he seemed really intentional, and Cara would just continue to just like, you know, be indirect about her feelings, and it just really irritated me because I'm in that place where I'm like, I like you and let's go.
Yes.
So I was a little irritated, but I'm all Team Myles.
Yeah.
So wherever he goes, I would too.
Okay, you heard that, Brian?
I mean,
Brandon.
Mr. Hall.
Mr. Hall, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Okay.
Y'all are crazy.
So that was our top 3 moments that pulled on our heartstrings. So that was season 1. And now on to season 2, we have Joy, who was the new friend request. That's where we left off. We've got Kara in Paris. We've got Arthur Finer moving on with his boo, getting married. Allie is doing her thing. You know, everything is looking good with... We didn't see much from... Jaya and
Rakesh.
Rakesh.
But we know
Yeah.
Rakesh is like
But
the
we know
head
they're
of the
moving-
company.
Yeah, so he's doing that.
You know, he's doing his thing. I mean, I was just happy that they did that, right? That they let us know what the crew was doing. I really loved the opening on how, like, he's on the radio for being on the radio, you know?
season
Like,
2.
And
Exactly.
like, oh, he has the #1 podcast? I was like, oh, this is great. So I loved how they did that really quick at the beginning. Like, here's where everyone's at. This is
rundown.
where we're at. And then, boom, here's this new chick.
Joy.
What did we think about this new chick? How do we feel about
So
Joy?
let's talk about Joy and her introduction to this whole scene and her, what does you call it, resistance
Yes.
to this whole process.
Yes.
What do you guys think about Joy, her introduction and resistance to this team?
Personally,
so to
I
speak?
can say is Joy is us. Just to bring it back to God. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's
Hey,
just like
that's
when
good.
the first thing I wrote on here about Joy, too much _. I was not a fan of it, but it just I thought about it, put myself in those perspective, and when it comes to God, I can be like that until I see it for myself, and you witness His goodness, and then you're like, you know what? This is hard. I don't know how we gonna do it, God. How we gonna make it through? But I know that it's a way and a will, and I'm just gonna direct you. So at the end of it, I'm Team Joy. I like you, girl.
I love it.
That's a word.
What did you think, Mina?
I think it was a very frustrating process just to watch her character unfold before us, because we're so invested in season 1 where we're all team Myles, right? So we went through the process of Myles going through disbelief and then finally, just being really into this podcast. So when we see him so passionate about the cause, about helping people, and then there's like a deterrent to that goal and there's nothing he can do about it because he doesn't have it in his hands, it's in Joy's hands now, and all he can do is guide her. That is the most frustrating thing, is to see something not being accomplished because there's a roadblock and it's your job. Like, you can't go and like get rid of the person, you just have to help that person move past the roadblock, which is much harder than you just doing it yourself, but it's a lesson learned.
Well, isn't that life?
Absolutely.
When we finally find our purpose, when we finally figure out what it is that we want to do, and we try to go walk in it, something comes along to try to block our way. There's a conflict, there's a mountain, there's a person at your job that gets on your nerves, and it's all part of the teaching and the blessing. And I really believe that there's a lesson and a teaching that Myles had to learn, not just through this episode, but throughout the arc of the season, I believe, is my prediction, through Joy.
Oh, you already got it.
There's a lesson through Joy for him.
I mean, and we're kind of already seeing a little bit of that because we saw Myles' resistance in season 1. He was so resistant and was just like, this is a coincidence. I don't know if I'm supposed to. Now he can see clearly, like, Joy, this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
This is how it goes. Like, you got to up. And he was persistent. He's almost playing what Kara used to play to him when the whole thing first started, right?
Exactly.
Are you seeing reflections of Kara in Myles? What Myles is being to Joy.
I was definitely going to add that, but I know we're a little short on time, but definitely it's so funny seeing Myles, Joy being Myles, and Myles being mad that Joy is being Myles. How does that work?
How does that work?
I want to add, like, I feel like Joy is such an allegory right now because, like, she represents something much greater in this whole story where I feel like joy cannot exist without sadness. Joy cannot exist without despair. Joy cannot exist without all these things. So it's not like you can just have like the blessings and the fruits of something without the adversity.
Absolutely
so you
not.
have to have like the questioning. You have to have all of that to get to the place of joy. So I feel like Joy is going to, live up to her name eventually. But I think it's a process. And I think it's so easy to not, be a fan of someone who's not joyful.
Right.
But it's very difficult to be in that place when you have all these things that has never given you a reason to be in that place.
And she's a lawyer.
Yeah, so she's seen a lot. She's a public defender, not just any lawyer. So she really cares about helping, the people who need help the most. And in a profession like that, I have friends that are going through the process of law school who want to be public defenders. And it is jading to be so passionate about helping the voiceless. Yeah. And then you have all these roadblocks and you can't. And you're like, why did I enter this profession in the first place? So I totally understand how Joy feels.
There's a level of surrender that is absolutely necessary that's hard for somebody who's in such a controlling position as a lawyer. Someone who's supposed to predict the outcome of where the wager is falling. So it's got to be challenging for her.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I want to give a special shout outs to all the folks that like watch with us and live tweet with us and also are on the live chat. I mean, Logan Knight says the God account would annoy me if it was real since I wouldn't want to help anyone.
Because Logan!
That's the real. I appreciate Logan for being honest.
That's keeping it real.
Because the truth is, people on Twitter, this new character, like we said, we're all invested in this God account crew, and now this new member has joined, and she's not really gelling well, and people were really angry. But one person tweeted something that I appreciated. She said, "I totally get Joy. Who has time for all this? Myles is essentially getting paid for doing what the God account wants through his podcast.
Yeah.
But what's Joy's motivation to continue?"
Wow. Well, before we jump into what Joy's motivation is and how that moves forward and how Myles assists her, we got a quick word from, AfterBuzz TV in the house. Give it to him, Rochelle.
Hey friends. Before we get into our next topic, we definitely want to tell you guys thank you as we continue to do, even without them telling us to tell you. Thank you for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. For us to continue to grow, we just going to need a little bit of your help. So if you're on YouTube right now, please give us a thumbs up. And if you're on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating. But no matter where you are, just please leave us a comment so you can get involved in our conversation. We do adore you guys. Being a part of AfterBuzz TV has meant so much to each and every one of us, and we truly appreciate you guys' support in doing what we love. So don't forget to tell your friends, and please continue to keep enjoying our show.
Hey, thank you so much. So yes, you guys, and make sure to stay tuned until the end of the show because we have a special segment and some news and gossip for you. But Franceli, you made a great point before that is, sometimes I think about that myself. Who has time to help all these other people when I kind of need help myself and everything? So what do you guys think about the conflict? This is kind of like our second topic here. And when it comes to Myles looking at Joy, and yes, because now she's getting the friend request, and we're seeing the need for her to step in on behalf of James Fremont, Lieutenant James Fremont, who is sick. What do you guys think of how Myles handed undergirding Joy to kind of like scoot her booty along to make sure that Lieutenant Fremont got what he needed in order to move forward in a healthy way?
Well, honestly, what I see is that he tried to be shady, but then it backfired. So he tried to, she was like, what does this mean? He was like, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to push her. Sounds like something I personally would do too, because I'm not here to force you to do anything that you're doing. We're too grown. So he was just like, forget it. I know as long as you tell me where to be at, I can help them. He knows how to work it. But with her being in law school and knowing all these rules, she seen that he was lying and was like, he's trying to play me and I'm not here for that. So Joy went ahead and did what she had to do. So it kind of like, it wasn't, to me, I didn't see him really pushing her. It was just like by him using his tactic, she was like,
Or maybe he knew and that's why he did it.
Ooh. Maybe.
Maybe he got it.
Yeah.
Caught it.
Yeah, because sometimes when somebody's like, oh, don't worry about it, you can't do it. It's like, oh, I can't.
Excuse me.
Right.
I'm sorry. Watch me show up shiny on this thing.
Right.
Because I'm absolutely capable of doing that. So I love how she received that messaging. And she's very straightforward. She's a lawyer, and there's all these nuances about being a lawyer and a public defender that probably had her in a mindset that puts you in a box. But we all know when it comes to the God account, there's no way that we can be in a box. So what do you think, Joy, if you were Joy, what would you be thinking right now about how to move forward? Do you think she's going to last many episodes, or what are we doing with Joy and her?
Honestly, I think the role of the God account is essentially like being a public defender, but in a different way.
It's true.
So she's like having the skills to do what she was already doing, but in a different format, in a way that's not so corporate. And I think that's super helpful, is her going out in the field and doing these things, and learning that she doesn't have to be like super abrasive when she walks into a bar and she's like, hey, do you need our help or not?
Oh, that irritated my soul.
So she's probably just been so like beaten down by the industry that she's in, where she feels like she can't make a difference, that she's like, I'm tired of playing nice. Like, what do you want? Like, let's be straight up right now. So I think like the experience with Myles is going to soften her a bit, and I think that'll be really nice to see.
Can I add to that? Now that you're saying that, I'm
please.
just thinking like maybe because we know that her goal at the end of this is to find her daughter, because unfortunately she had her daughter at 16. Well, not even unfortunately, it's just, well, it was unfortunate circumstances that she couldn't take care of the kid at 16, so she gave away her baby and she's looking for her child now. But maybe all of these experiences will help her to be more of a people's person, so when she do come across her daughter, whatever age that she may be, she'll be able to receive and explain herself and have a good one, instead of her coming up to people, because she clearly kind of lacked the people skills, walking in there like, you need some help. But friend, I'm a tap friend in.
Friend here.
Tap friend.
Go friend.
The God account, what it signifies for me on this show is God's orchestration, His immaculate orchestration, how He knows things beyond what we know. And the reality is that Kara, her mother disappeared and she had to go through a whole journey of finding her mom. Myles had an issue with his mother. So it's like the things that we need are in the storehouse. There are people that will come into your life for a reason and a purpose, because there's something in them that you need. And Joy needs some guidance in this journey that she's going to have to find her daughter. And they are equipped. They are equipped. Thank you, sis. They are equipped to give her the assistance that she needs. And that's what God does. He's not some magical magician like the Wiz, trying to like just, it doesn't happen by magic. It happens through people. And that's why we have to take the onus off of ourselves and not make it about us and help others, because we have the answer to someone else's problem.
It's so fun.
God, that is so
Life
golden.
can be so fun sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's so interesting. And I think it was Joy, but wasn't it her that said hope can be frightening?
Yes.
And sometimes when we have something like that, holding us back, just to piggyback off what you said, it's like, sure, hope can be frightening, but if I don't have some kind of a glimpse or a view about what's possible, then how can I give or share with the next person, whatever, so that they can, you know, get what Myles got in season 1 to move forward? Because, like, let's be real. When we look at season 1, everything turned out for the greater good. By episode 20, I think it was 20, if I'm not mistaken. I felt like it was
were here for a minute.
19, 20. I was like, you know, by the end, it was just like, wow, everything worked out. Kara got what she wanted. Myles got what he wanted. Rakesh is moving. Arthur is getting married. Ali, like, everybody was good. So now, instead of hope being frightening, it's such an opportunity to take on what that means and expand to a level of vulnerability where you can share that with someone else and move forward. That's how we, you know, get things together. And I remember, Mina, you and I in the beginning used to talk about that when this show first started. So I just love to see how this is kind of meeting full circle with what hope and vulnerability and going for it and being open can bring to any and all situations.
Right. Yeah. I love that these, like, topics are universal and evergreen.
Yes.
Like, they never go dead. Like, these are things that we always need to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, while we're here talking about that, this episode was so amazing, but we definitely don't want to leave you without jumping into this great news and gossip.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take it away, Rochelle.
So I am Rochelle, and I'm here for your Good God Weekly News. And today we're going to talk about this awesome movie by Miss Yvette, written by Yvette Nicole Brown. It's called Always a Bridesmaid. It was just aired yesterday on the 28th of September on BET, so please make sure you guys go check it out. It's basically starred by our one and only Miss Javicia, and she is playing Karina, and basically about her. She is a bridesmaid who's kind of tired of the dating scene, but she comes back, and we're going to go on that journey with her. But, you know, my awesome co-host on the side, she was there yesterday, well, this weekend, and Franceli, she was at the live tweet party, so I'm going to let her go ahead and take that right there.
Yes. Oh, it was awesome. It's funny because, you know, Brandon Michael Hall, who plays Myles, and Javicia, who plays Ali, are both in this movie. So it was so cool to see both of them there. And there's Yvette and I on the couch over at BT. We got to watch it and live tweet with everyone. It was such an incredible experience. And it was so good to see Javicia, like, the number one on the call sheet, like the star of this movie. And really, because here's the thing with God Friended Me, you know, we see her in bits and pieces, but to see her do a whole arc of a movie, and man, Javicia, shout outs to you. Your acting chops, sis. You got it. And we love you on God Friended Me, but it's really great to see her. So if you guys love her on this show, please go support her. Always a Bridesmaid, playing now on BET.
Yes, and I love how when she was here talking with us last season, if you didn't catch it, you can on season 1. But I love how she shared that about a year and a half or two ago, she was waiting tables.
Yeah.
And now it's going from the bits and pieces you talked about on God Friended Me to full-on feature in this amazing movie. It's just like, I love you guys. That's so dope. Like, kill it, you know?
It's really inspiring, so definitely it's awesome being a part of this show. Definitely just seeing her and seeing her her walk in the industry is probably motivating. It's motivating for me, and I'm sure it is for you guys, because sometimes you can feel like, when is it going to be our time? But letting her be a living testimony for us all gives me a little bit of more inspiration.
Won't he do it?
Walking, taking a day at a time. But yes, that is concluded my good weekly news. I'll see y'all next week too.
Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in for that news. And so now we want to have our special segment. So I don't know if you guys remember last season we had God Speaks. So of course we're going to start this show with God Speaks, but we have a new special segment coming up. So we're going to do a little remix of the two, but let's start with God Speaks, where something that we've heard during the week stood out to us and kind of sounded like a way that God spoke to us during this week. So I'm going to let Mina take it away with a special segment.
What a divine segment. Yeah, so I feel like God spoke to me in so many ways throughout this episode. I mean, Joe Morton is killing it on Twitter. Like, every single time, Joe Morton comes through with the best quotes. In this case, he is quoting the song from the show, the song called Human, the I'm Only Human at the end. Yes. And it is so fitting for the theme of the show. He says, maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through this and see what's behind. Got no way to prove it, so maybe I'm lying. Hashtag I'm only human. God friended me.
Yes.
So this is such a beautiful song with profound lyrics, because, you know, it is kind of foolish to think that you can, you know, have 20/20 vision. And that's why, like, that's why the phrase, hindsight's 2020, like, you only know how things work based off of the past. It's really hard to know, like, what you're doing. All you can do is, like, have faith and try your best and hope it pans out. But I feel like to think that you have some sort of, like, immaculate way of, like, working things out, like, we're only human. Like, we have no way to necessarily do that. We have free will. We can make good decisions, but a lot of times I feel like we beat ourselves up for things that aren't necessarily our fault. And, taking it back to the episode, like, how many characters, like, feel guilt for things that they've done, including Joy, leaving her daughter at 16, but that's the best choice she could have made in that instance. Like, that's a hard decision. And the thing that people don't understand is there is no such thing as a right or wrong decision. There's only a decision and the way you interpret that decision. And what's important is, did you make that intention, or did you make that decision with good intentions, or did you make that decision out of emotion, out of selfishness, out of ego, any of the 7 deadly sins? Like, why did you make that decision? And if you came from a good place to make the decision, you can't beat yourself up when things don't go the way you want them to go, when something else gets in the way. So I adore this quote. I think it's amazing. And yeah, that's all I have to say about how God spoke to me in that episode.
Anything else to say?
Shout outs to Papa Pope with the hashtag Finer Gospel.
Always. We love that. And just to piggyback on that, I have to admit, that's the thing that I love about life. The more I grow and evolve, I love the fact that I don't know what's going on, and the mystery of moving forward in my intuitive leading and the possibility of what God has. Because I feel like sometimes we chain God to predictability, and he's not in this little predictable box. We can't. But the things that I've seen unfold in retrospect, due to what unfolded in his way and his time, just like what we see in the show, has been far more than what I could have ever asked for. Amen. So I love that. What a great quote.
I also want to add just a little bit. I know we don't have much time, but I do want to add that I love when Joy said, hope is a scary thing, because I feel like that's such a weird thing to say, because normally we're like, no, hope is like the best thing ever. Hope is everything. But the reason why hope is so scary is because you don't know what's next. So like, you're like in this frame of mind where you're like, well, what's next for me? And it's crazy because in this episode, or like at the end of season 2, like, look at where we are now. Like, Kara's in Paris and Myles is doing his thing and he's mentoring like Joy, and things are working out. And it's like, well, hope is scary because, well, where is this gonna, like, the bar is set, is like, keeps getting set higher and higher and higher, and you don't know where it's gonna go. You don't know if you can fulfill big shoes, so it is scary. And I think like that's where the whole concept of faith comes into play. And I say this all the time when I do this show, like, I love what the show is doing because it opens up conversations like this, especially with people who are grappling with, you know, their faith. And I feel like this show always comes at a perfect time for me.
I love that. I never even thought about hope being scary like that. But thinking about it now, it's just like, it does open room for being disappointed, God forbid, if something happens that you didn't, want. But ultimately, if you do have good perspective and do understand that everything is meant for your good, no matter what the situation is, you have to look at, life, that whatever it's supposed to be is meant for me, and I'm going to take it, and something good will come out of it. But agree with you as well. Like, I forgot how good this show was. Oh, I'm ready for this. Please tell me this is 25 episodes on this season. Please.
Well, here's the thing. Nothing's too hard for God. That's what they were saying towards the end of the episode. And season 1, and now in this episode for season 2, God has shown up in ways that as humans we felt, there's no way. She's out in Paris. Oh my God, we're in the middle of Times Square. But nothing's too hard for God.
You better believe it. He has no constraints. This is an omnipresent presence we're dealing with.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to season 2, episode 1 of God Friended Me, the after show. We can't wait to see you same time, same place next week. So don't you go anywhere. I'm your host, Jaimi Alexander, and you can find me on Instagram at Jaimi Alexander.
And your favorite Afro-Latina is here, Franceli. Hang out with me at all the things at Celly Hangout.
Yes, and it's me. You guys can always find me at Roach Baby on Instagram or on Twitter, and that's ROACHBAYBEE.
Hey everyone, I'm Mina, and you can follow me on Mina Makes Magic on Instagram. I'm actually going to be starting up a gratitude challenge starting October. Every single day, what you're grateful for. So join me in my gratitude challenge on Instagram, Mina Makes Magic.
Bye. See you next week.
Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.